Well, welcome back to the Cottage Farmstead. I'm Rebecca. My husband Nathan's back there with the caulk gun, and we have some very exciting news for you.
We passed our inspection!
Yay! So the marathon of the last few months of trying to get every little thing done that's on the final inspection checklist is finally over. As you can see, there's still plenty of projects to be had. As for a final inspection here, at least in Anderson County, you don't have to have everything finished in your house. You don't have to have trim or all your doors up. You don't even have to have a shower. So there's some things that we're like, okay, we're just gonna get what we need done for the final inspection so we can get occupancy, which means that we can legally live here. And there's some things that we're gonna finish over time. But what we were really trying to avoid doing is having to renew our building permit. We didn't want to go through the paperwork and pay another permitting fee again. So we were like, let's just get the bare minimum done to get in. Since we have been working so hard the last 2 months, pretty much in every free moment that we are gonna have a shorter video this week, but I did want to share a few lessons that we learned from this final inspection process. First is to check your county building code and permitting office to see if they have a checklist available. Anderson County has a very detailed checklist that's 11 pages long that goes from putting in your foundation footers all the way through the final inspection. And it has a lot of the building codes broken down so that it's helpful, especially for owner builders that may not be familiar with the entire construction process. As you can see here, this is the final inspection. It's the 911 emergency address numbers, how big they need to be, weatherproof, road-proofing. Some things are not applicable, like we don't have a garage. And it just goes on of all the different requirements that you need for your plumbing and for your HVAC, and if you have a gas appliance, the electrical things that they're going to test for, and so on. As you can see on this last page, we have a list of questions, and that leads me to the second lesson we learned. At least in our county, and you may want to ask in whatever county you're building in, is the permitting office will give one free courtesy inspection. So before your final inspection, an inspector will come out, answer your questions, and point out a few things that you might be missing. So we had some questions about the drywall in the basement. Would we need to do the exterior stairwell, or could we fence it off for safety reasons? You know, is our railing that we put upstairs sufficient? And then we had questions about the energy code checklist. When we had the courtesy inspection, we found out that we didn't have to do the stairs, which saved us time. We learned that the energy code checklist was on their website. It was not anything that we needed to hire out, which is nice. And he gave us advice on how to drywall the basement to meet the code requirements with our specific scenario. So we had the HVAC in there, and we were planning on doing some sort of drop ceiling in the future, but then we found out that it's required in our county we have to have drywall there. So we were like, well, how, without doing a bajillion bulkheads, are we supposed to do this to meet the minimum requirements? So they gave us some advice on that. And then we also learned that we didn't actually have to have a shower for the final inspection. That was one of the things that we were trying to push and get done. And then we found out that you just have to have a flushing toilet and a sink in the bathroom. You don't have to have a mirror, you don't have to have a shower. And then in the kitchen, we don't even have to have a real countertop. You can just slap something together and put a sink in it, and that's good enough. So when we found out our laminate was bowed, we were like, okay, we'll just do some Advantech, waterproof it, and install our kitchen sink in that to pass our final inspection. And then we'll be able to straighten out our laminate over time and get that installed later, but it wouldn't prevent us from getting our occupancy certificate. The last lesson we learned is to kind of go with the flow with the inspectors. So we've discovered that building inspectors in the county can vary widely in how they interpret the building code. So the inspector that came out at our rough-in inspection said that we needed to sheetrock the basement ceiling. So okay, we're going to sheetrock the basement ceiling. When we had our courtesy inspector come through, he saw that we had the sheetrock, and he said, you need to mud and tape the sheetrock on the ceiling in the basement. So we mudded and taped it. Then the inspector that came out for our final inspection went through and said, I pass houses all the time without any sheetrock in the ceiling in the basement. Whose interpretation is correct? We're not really sure, but we really wanted to pass our inspection, so you don't want to argue with the inspectors. You can call your building code office. We did that a few times. We texted pictures to inspectors saying, like, is this sufficient? Is this correct? And they were more than willing to answer our questions, but don't be surprised if you get different answers from different people. Go with the flow, get what you need to done to get your inspection passed. So with that, I'll wrap up the video this week as we are going to work at a less frenzied pace, but we do still have a few things that we want to work on this evening. So I'm going to go back into the master bath and help Nathan get the sidewall of our shower braced for the evening and find some other projects to work on. We'll catch you next time.